Hello, I'm Jackie, and recently I was watching Catch Me If You Can. It's a movie about Frank Abagnale. Wait, it's Abagnale. It's a movie about Frank Abagnale Jr., a young, notorious grifter. Apparently, he's one of the best con men of all time. Something recently I've heard on YouTube when trying to find out how to pronounce this guy's name.
You're one of the greatest con men of all time. You're the daddy of them all. What does it take to be a good con man?
So in the movie, he was forging checks and impersonating people of importance, all the while fleeing the FBI. Well, when it came to him impersonating a doctor, he reminded me of our own present-day grifter, Dr. Love. Malachi Love Robinson, or Dr. Love, gained infamy back in 2016 when he opened his own medical care center at only 18 years old. Also, he's not a doctor, but he posed as one, performing physical exams and providing medical advice. He named his fake clinic the New Birth, New Life Medical Center in Urgent Care, and actually made an official looking website for it, as well as making a profile of himself on a doctor rating website. But he gave himself a ridiculously high customer satisfaction rating. I noticed that after he was arrested for practicing medicine, for practicing medicine without a license, he changed the name of his medical center to New Birth, New Life Holistic and Alternative Medical Care. In my opinion, that is way too long. Plus, he should have just saved that lie because his website had already snitched on him. Anyways, he got caught when he performed a physical exam on an undercover cop. The reason the cops were even investigating was because back in September 2015, a concerned citizen wrote the local health department informing them that Love claimed to have
3 degrees and only 18 years old, and was a con man and truly a danger to the general public.
Investigators originally found him at the new director's behavior clinic, where he was working as a program director and counselor, and apparently he has his PhD. He says he got it from a Christian online school. I don't know, maybe. But he also admitted that the diploma and transcript that landed him the job in the first place were faked, and they gave him his first cease and desist notice. But now, before I dive into the details of his shenanigans with his personal clinic, I must mention that he was caught playing doctor a full year before opening his own clinic. In January 2015, he had to be kicked out of a hospital. He claimed he was just trying to request to shadow physicians, and the situation got overblown.
I requested to shadow some physicians. Next thing I know, cops are there. That's all I know. All I know. Have no idea. This story was broadcast everywhere, like I'm some insane maniac that's just out here doing crazy things.
He was found in an OBGYN office, dressed in a lab coat. He also had a stethoscope around. He was only 17 at the time, but claimed to be an anesthesiologist. Apparently, he had been wandering the hospital for about a month, and this is according to the security. Like, he even went into the restricted areas. Because he was a minor, they just let him go with a warning. They arrested him and sent him home the same day. Now, back to February 2016. This young man made national headlines. He held a press conference and was interviewed by ABC News twice. He even gave them a tour of his clinic. The entire time, he claimed that he never portrayed himself as a medical doctor.
The sign outside his office with MD taped over.
I am not portraying myself as an MD.
And that he only provided natural alternatives to medicine. Well, no one believed that. He was charged with practicing medicine without a license, document forgery, and grand theft. It also came out that he scammed one of his patients, an 86-year-old woman, out of $3,500. He cleaned out her bank account. She had hired him to heal her severe stomach pains, but instead he stole her checkbook and wrote checks to pay his own bills. Now before y'all start to judge thinking,
he's just a kid. How could anyone be dumb enough to think he's a doctor?
well, he made a profile on the popular medical review website saying that he's 25. And to be fair, he could have been a young 25-year-old. And also keep in mind, this is a very... These people are old, they are sick, and they just want to be healed. And he took advantage of that. Look at those glaring red flags. Well-rounded is hyphenated, and professional is spelled with one F. He was arrested the same day he performed a physical exam on the undercover cop, but was out on bail the very next day. He immediately conducted a phone interview and scheduled a press conference. He gained national attention with his interviews, but this didn't even hamper his grift. In March, not even a full month after being released, he was caught using a former patient's checking account to pay over $34,000 in car payments. He was arrested again, but he was granted a supervised release. At some point, he traveled to Virginia, and in September, 6 months later, he tried to buy a luxury car with the help of an elderly co-signer. The car dealers Googled his name and saw that he had been arrested for fraud, so they became suspicious about the co-signer's compliance. They sent him away and told him they will give him a call back when his credit approved. But instead of running a credit check, they called the cops. They called him back saying that he had been approved for the car, and he showed up with his elderly co-signer, and she had no clue what was going on. When the cops showed her the contract, she was genuinely shocked that he knew her birthday and her social security number. So the cops did a little more digging, and they found out he had also stolen her credit card, and he bought $1,200 worth of gadgets with it. So they arrested him, and this time without bond. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but they suspended 4. After serving his time in Virginia, he was returned to Florida to finally go to trial for his fake doctor office. In 2018, Charlatan Love, get it, was returned to Florida. He struck a deal and was sentenced to about 42 months, with 16 months being credited as time served, so a little over 2 years. But he only served 1.5 years. He only spent 20 months in prison. Like seriously, he was sentenced in 2018 and was released in September 2019. Lying, stealing, endangering the sick, defrauding the elderly, and showing absolutely no remorse, and still only got 3 years. 3 years total. It's a slap on the wrist, a beating with a wet noodle, and a green light to carry on, which he did. In early 2020, he was accused of stealing a little over $10,000 from his employer. And when I say early, I mean his employer reported him in March. That's 6 months. 6 months after his release from prison. While working as a salesperson for United States of Freight, I like that name. It's just a middleman company that connects shippers with transport companies. Well, while he was working for them as a salesperson, he created dummy accounts so that he could receive payments from unsuspecting customers. For instance, one of his accounts were named National Logistics Division LLC. And it is a business that is registered to him. He had this bank account, a PayPal, and a Venmo, all for the purpose of tricking customers into paying him the money that should have been going to his employer. I laugh, but it is not funny. This guy is so unbelievable. Once found out, he texted the owner saying that he's sorry and that he just made a mistake. He also said that he would refund the money. He didn't. He was booked for grand theft and fraud and was released the same day. Within 11 hours, he was out on bond. So where is he now? In jail. Back in January, he was finally sentenced to over 2 years for grand theft and an organized scheme to defraud. Yeah, he really did go through a lot of trouble to defraud those people. He's 25 now and spent most of his adult life in prison and the entirety of it grifting, opening fake businesses, creating websites for these fake businesses, forging documents. Imagine what he can accomplish if he would put his efforts into something legitimate. As much as people trust him, combined with his resourcefulness, he could have had a decent business by now. Hopefully the next time he's free, he uses his talents for good. Just keep him away from old people. Ending it here. If you liked the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. If you disliked it, thanks for at least giving me a chance. In either case, please leave a comment below. I really want to hear from you guys. I appreciate you watching, and I will be seeing you in the next video. Bye!
I like turtles.